into, we're halfway home. Can we trust them long term as we get closer to March, as we get closer to the tournament and the Final Four in San Antonio, Texas this year? Can we trust them? And the biggest team, Tennessee has been number one. Tennessee's won every game. They've got some quality wins. They just hammered Arkansas over the weekend at home, put on quite a show in front of their home fans. They've beaten Baylor this year. They've beaten Illinois this year. They've beaten Miami and Syracuse and Louisville, Virginia. So they've got a nice collection. They've been dominant. We have a fun game coming up tomorrow on the road against a Florida team that just lost their first game. We've seen them play. The defense is great. Chaz Lanier has been outstanding. Zakai Ziegler has been there 100 years. Their guard plays great. But do we actually trust them, Matt McCall?
Pony, did you say he's been there 100 years?
What's that?
You said he's been there 100 years? He hasn't been there.
It feels like Ziegler's been there 100 years.
Does it not? Feel like it. It feels like it. Where's Dalton Connect? Where's Dalton Connect? Oh, he's playing for the Lakers. He's playing for the Lakers.
Exactly. But do you trust him, McCall?
I do, just in terms of their staff and the job that they do in the portal. Chaz Lanier, bringing him in, Dalton Connect, bringing him in. Like, nobody knew about these guys. And Chaz Lanier at North Florida, Matt Driscoll has done an unbelievable job there for the Ospreys as the head coach. He's been there for a number of years. He took that team to the NCAA tournament a couple different times. But, their staff, they evaluate these transfers. Nobody knew who Dalton Connect was. Nobody. And this guy gets to them, and if it had not been for Zach Edey, Dalton Connect is the National Player of the Year. He's the National Player of the Year, 1,000%. And the Lakers should probably play him more, and they'd probably win more games. But I'm and then they bring in, it's just they do a great job of evaluating. I think Rick Barnes and his teams, and I know the knock is they don't get to the Final Four and they don't win games in the NCAA tournament and all that. Rick Barnes is an unbelievable coach. And Texas, ran him out of town, whatever it was. He gets to Tennessee, and what does he do? Just continues to win games. That's all the guy has done in his career as a head coach, win games. And it's super impressive. And it's what he's doing right now. And to think the fact that they're the number one team in the country after losing Dalton Connect, who could have been the National Player of the Year last year, it's unbelievable to see this. And this team's for real. And the SEC is for real. The SEC and the Big Ten, those two conferences, there's no gimmies. Not at all.
There's not any gimmies, and certainly it's going to be tough for Tennessee to get where they want to go this year. And I'm with you. I think Barnes is wonderful, and they've done a hell of a job, and he's done a wonderful job adapting. At the end of his tenure at Texas, people said, well, games passed him by. He doesn't want to play the AAU game. He doesn't want to recruit. And now look at the way he's adapting to the transfer portal era. It's been unbelievable. The thing for me, though, is at some point I want to see this team in the Final Four. I got to see Rick Barnes there, and I think he needs to see himself there. Rick Barnes hasn't been in the Final Four in, 22 years? It's been quite a while. And the Vols have never been there. They got really close. Remember that year with Bruce Pearl, where I think it was like a little layup there against Ohio State? They were that close to going to the Final Four. So this is a basketball program now that I think, like Auburn's been there. Bama's been there. Tennessee needs to go, Jarrell, to the Final Four this year.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of a culmination, too, because we've kind of watched just, as Matt spoke to, just the job that Coach Barnes has done since going over to Tennessee, man. So they've stacked up the wins. They built up another great program, a program that's really been quite dominant over the last couple of years. And have had the right collection of talent to kind of get there. So I think they've been a team that's just been knocking on the door. So we all kind of just waiting for them to kind of just kick the door in, man, and finally break through. I think this could be the year as well, but On the flip side of that too, I'll say this, and this is probably being a little bit petty, but I think it's a little bit of the same issues year in, year out with them. And the only thing that I ever worry about with Tennessee is, okay, last year was Dalton Connect, this year is Lanier, but after those guys, if they have an off night or they can't get it going offensively, are they gonna have enough firepower to carry the load? What happens once they get into a neutral court site game and the other team is just for whatever reason red hot and going crazy and hitting 3-pointers from everywhere and they get down 12 to 15 points in the game? Are they going to have a team and the makeup and the guys after their leading scorer that's going to be able to step up and erase a deficit as well, too? We know they can get it done defensively, but at the same time, just to make those type of runs, man, you're going to face some adversity. If you're going to get to a Final Four, you probably going to have a couple close games unless, you one of these teams like UConn has had some dominant runs the last couple of years. But for the most part, every other team, you're going to face some adversities. You're going to be down at halftime in some games. You're going to have some nail biters where it's a 1 or 2 possession game, or you're going to have to make a comeback or something. We need to know that they got the ability in a group of players that are going to be able to withstand a crazy run or just the madness of March. You know what I mean? So I think just as far as what they put on paper, though, you got to trust them. How can you not trust them?
Yeah, Jarrell, I think you made
ahead.
a great point, Jarrell. Like, when they get in a dogfight this year, and they really haven't been in a dogfight yet, but when they get in a dogfight, like, how do you handle adversity? It's coming. It's 100% coming. Like, how do you handle it? Like, when you're down 12 at the half, like UConn was yesterday. Like, look at UConn yesterday. And, coming out of Maui, everyone's like, oh, UConn, there's no chance. They have no chance of winning a national championship again. They went 0-3 in Maui. That was the best thing that could ever happen to UConn because now Danny Hurley has their attention. And yesterday, they were down. And Providence was clicking on all cylinders. And UConn couldn't guard anybody off the bounce. What did UConn do in the second half of that game without Liam McNeely? They scored 60 points. They scored 60 points in the second half. So with Tennessee, it's like, okay, when it's crunch time and it's not going well, and we're on the road in the SEC, and the SEC – look at the Florida Gators. The Florida Gators are a good team. They're talented. I'm not saying this because it's my alma mater, but they're a really good team. And they went on the road to Kentucky, and Kentucky played better. And now they got Tennessee coming up. And then they have Arkansas coming up. It's like you just got to – look, there's opportunities there, but it is – the league is tough. It is tough. And Tennessee will get pushed. And to Jarrell's point, it's like, hey, when it's not going well, how do you respond? And that's when we're going to find out who are the best teams in the country.